Over the past few years, I sat down with a few of my trainers and I sat down and I talked to them about how do you actually have a flat stomach? What do you do to reduce belly fat? Today, I want to walk y'all through some of the steps that I use and some of the steps that I've learned to lose almost 30 pounds and also really trim that midsection. So let's get into it. So y'all, I feel like this topic is important because when it comes down to your image, this is directly related to any and everything that you do. Because at the end of the day, when you look good, you feel good. That confidence, it shines through. You're able to do more as it relates to relationships, whether that be personal or professional. And then the other piece is that when you actually begin to work out and reduce belly fat, you're able to have more energy. And having more energy, you're able to really take life by the horns and get to those goals. There are many more opportunities that you will get if you are 100% your best self. The first way that I learned to reduce belly fat was to eat and not diet. I focused mainly on eating things that were high protein, low to no carbohydrates, I will say. The protein helped me with protein synthesis through after my workouts. You're doing anything with the body. You're breaking down that muscle. Good amount of protein is going to allow you to rebuild that muscle much faster. I try to keep a focus of keeping away from those problem foods, processed sugars, processed fats, foods that are kind of already prepared that come with high sugar, not a lot of fiber. So we're talking about bread and bagels, soda or pop, whatever you call it. So when it came to my food, it was foods that were a lot easier to prepare. Things like chicken or chicken breast, fish, rice. If I prepare rice, I usually try to stick to brown rice. But if I prepared the rice, I felt better eating it that way versus having something that was already prepared that I'm just heating up. Complex carbohydrates meaning, you know, if we're talking about granola, things where my body is gonna have to work a little bit to process the sugar if I did have some sort of carbohydrates. I also ate a lot of leafy green vegetables. So we're talking about spinach, kale, things like romaine lettuce. Those were areas that I stuck to, broccoli. Also, I tried to get a shake in on a regular basis. So let me bless y'all with the shake recipe real quick. So what I start off with is a cup. We're talking about 8 ounces, right? And so that's everything that I put into my protein shake. I start off with the liquid first. So we're adding about a cup of the liquid. That's almond milk and a little bit of water. Then I'm doing about a scoop or 2 of my protein. That's chocolate flavored protein. I do a cup of spinach, a cup of fruit, a little bit of peanut butter for flavor. I'm adding a little bit of ice, I shake it up, and then we drop it into the blender. That's when everything gets nice and blended properly for consistency and texture. And once we get done blending, here's where we are.
That's a big shake. Thanks.
You gotta sip some and tell the people how it is. What you doing?
That's good.
The next way I was able to reduce belly fat was actually to keep my body in motion. So when I say that, I'm not talking about just on the treadmill, because a lot of times what happens is if you're working out on the treadmill, you will reduce your weight. It's a good idea to keep a good combination of cardio, but also strength training. Some things that I recommend that I learned about. A lot of times when you have seen me working out, I'm doing a lot of things related to my legs. So I'm doing a stair climber, I'm doing a HIIT workout. What I'm focusing on is building up the legs. I'm building up the legs, and when the legs are built up, you're able to do more exercises with the legs. What happens is that your heart rate gets up. When your heart rate is in that zone, you're also burning a ton of fat. I remember when I had first started working out with the trainer that I told you guys I asked about. And you know what? If she's watching, she is a bully, right? But she is good at what she does. So I will tell you, she used to tell me all the time, hey, look, this is your number. My number for my target heart rate zone, I think, was 125, 130 beats per minute. And sometimes if she would see me walking on the treadmill or not working out as hard on I would say the stair climber, she would come to me and be like, you know what? If your heart rate doesn't get into this specific zone, you might as well just go sit down and go take a nap. And that was good for me because it helped to motivate me and help me to understand that I needed to set an attainable goal, a realistic goal, and also to know that if I'm not at least meeting a certain minimum, I'm really not doing a lot of work. So another area of focus was to lift weights to reduce belly fat. So a lot of people don't necessarily focus on lifting weights. There are a number of ways to start a workout program. I'm going to get into that in more detail in another video, but just to give you a few pointers, what I learned when I was first starting to work out was my magic number was 10. So if I could lift it 10 times, each time you lift a weight, that's a rep, right? So I would do 10 reps. And once you do 10 reps, I would say that's one set. When I first started working out, I believe with, I would say 15s or 20s. So I would lift that 10 times. I would do about 3 sets of that and I would be done. But as I started to get more in tune into working out, I started to focus a lot more on my reps and sets, increasing my reps to 15 instead of 10, increasing my sets. You work out with weights, it increases the heart rate, but it also does something to your muscles to where if you're burning fat, you're going to burn fat during that specific period of time. But because your heart rate is increased and you have activated certain properties in the muscle, you keep losing fat throughout the day. So another focus of mine for reducing belly fat was to really pay attention to the labels. So I started to really look at the ingredients, I will say, in a specific item that I would purchase. So if it was, let's say from a carb perspective, a carbohydrate, I look to get either 0 carbohydrates or low carbohydrates. Then I start to stick to, or I should say stay away from anything heavy cream, heavy sugar, heavy fat. I try to stay away from things like that because that's essentially what starts to really build up on the stomach as you start to eat more and more of those types of foods. Instead of regular sour cream, I might even do low-fat sour cream, or I might do low-fat Greek yogurt. So when I started to really read up on what was on the ingredient labels of a lot of these foods, I realized that some of the foods that I was eating, even as I was growing up, like yogurt, I thought all yogurt was low fat, but it's not. There's some yogurt that says it's low fat, but it's actually very high in fat and very high in carbohydrates. So another area that was important for me to lose belly fat was to check my progress, and not necessarily always checking the scale, but checking the fit. So the fit of my clothes, how I looked, you know, that was very important to me as well, because there's always this thing where people say, oh, you are fit and have a lot of muscle. Sometimes that also on the scale, it doesn't tell the same story. So for me, it was about being healthy. It was about the look. It was also about the fit of how my clothes fit, right? And throughout time, what I noticed is that I wasn't necessarily losing weight. I was muscular, and for me, that wasn't part of my goal. My goal was I wanted to be muscular and I wanted to have a flat stomach. So when it came to working out, I recognized I needed to do something different. So another way to reduce belly fat is to really drink more water. So the goal for me is always to do at least a half a gallon. So that's about 64 ounces. That's about eight 8-ounce cups of water. So 8-ounce cups of water gives me what? Does that math? 64 ounces, because yeah, a gallon is 128 ounces. Okay, so I'm just checking my math. When you start to drink more water, a couple of things happen. One, you're able to get more oxygen to the brain. You're able to think more clearly. You feel more full, so you don't overeat. I've heard always that you should look to drink a glass of water before you get ready to eat. That'll help you not overeat. There would be these times before I did that where I would have these intense cravings. Like, you ever been around somebody that gets real hungry and they're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, I'm about to die. I used to be that person, but now I feel like I have more control over my body in terms of being hungry because I'm consuming more water. So another couple of things that water does, it's gonna help you to increase your burn in the gym. It's going to lubricate a lot of the joints because I mean, the body is made mostly of water, right? But having more water, your joints are going to be more lubricated. It's going to allow you to have more endurance in the gym. So you're going to be able to do more work. And lastly, as we know, it helps to remove waste out of the body. The last thing I want to talk about, so mindset when it comes to reducing belly fat is very important. Losing weight is hard, right? But honestly, losing belly fat and trying to have a flat stomach, that's even harder. I learned to first go back to my why. For me, my why was I want to be healthier. I want to be able to run around with my kids. When we decide to have children, I also want to live longer and I just want to look better in my clothes. Those were my whys and that's what worked for me. But that's not going to be your same why. Mindset is important because if you don't set realistic goals and understand your why, you're gonna get in there, work out, and try and set that goal, and you're not gonna want to continue. Y'all, thanks for joining me. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Peace. We out.